Hey there, everybody. This is Eric Cook with WSI, and I would like to welcome you to the Wednesday, February 19th, 2020 episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. Today's show is going to be a solo show. I've had several shows in the past where I've had guests. We've been talking about the Digital Minds book, WSI's third edition of our book, and still not quite yet available on Amazon, but it's getting there. And then last week I had Ben Pankinen from Social Assurance. If you didn't get a chance to sit in on that conversation, I would strongly suggest going back to last week's episode. Ben and I had an awesome conversation. We got some really good feedback from folks that were able to sit on that live, talking a lot about specialization, kind of picking your lane and staying in it versus getting outside of your comfort zone, learning new things. And where is that tipping point in determining whether or not you're deluding yourself and going too far down the rabbit hole, which is certainly a very easy thing to do in the digital world because there are no shortages of distractions and shiny little objects to go after. So want to encourage you, if you did not get a chance to check that episode out, to do so. As you can tell, based off of the fact that I just mentioned the show from last week that's recorded, those of you that are new to Free Webinar Wednesdays, welcome aboard, and all shows are recorded and made available here at freewebinarwednesdays.com. Certainly appreciate you sharing this with friends and colleagues and spreading the word. And if there's some cool stuff that you learn and would like to help us get the word out, that would be greatly appreciated. And those of you that are attending live, one of the things that I also really enjoy, especially when I'm doing these shows solo, is if you are attending live, feel free to use the chat function, post a question, comment, or if you just want to say hello, that's totally fine too. I keep an eye on that, and this is a good weekly opportunity to check in with folks, and we've actually got kind of a global audience with folks coming not just from the United States, but from other areas of the world, so it's kind of fun to see an international audience pop in there, which is pretty cool. So today, what we're going to talk about is a couple of things that I've noticed in LinkedIn, and I've been doing these little videos that I'll share with folks. And when I'm getting a connection with a new person on LinkedIn, one of the things that I typically will check to find out is their level of familiarity on LinkedIn, whether or not they've personalized their LinkedIn URL. And if they haven't, what I'll do is I use a cool little tool called Vidyard Go Video. So you can see here on my screen, we've got this little video dude, and if you click on the little alien, this is a free plugin that you can get from the folks at Vidyard. Now they have a paid plan that you can use if you would like to have a little bit more control over the URL and a landing page. But the very basic Go Video plugin or I guess it's called an extension if we're going to use the proper terminology here, but the Chrome extension called Go Video allows for you to sign in, create a free account, and then you can turn your screen on, you can turn your camera on, you can use your microphone or just keep it silent. You can record a particular tab or your entire screen, or if you wanted to just do like a little video that you could then save and then maybe post it up to a social networking platform. Maybe you want to do a very light version of a video blog or a vlog. You could use this for that. Just use the webcam on your computer to do that. But what I typically do when I connect with somebody through LinkedIn and I notice that they don't have a personalized URL, I go through and I visit their profile and I make the video personal. So if I was going to do something for Ben, which he already has a personalized URL, I know he's already done that, but I could say, hey, Ben, just noticed a couple of things on your LinkedIn, and as you're looking at maybe upping your game on the social network, here's one suggestion that you might want to take advantage of, and here's a way that you can go in and actually personalize your URL so it's not just this big, long, first name dash last name dash a bunch of numbers. And so those of you that are on the show live, or if you're catching this on replay, if you hop over to your LinkedIn account, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here as to how to make a change to that. But if you jump over to LinkedIn, and when you get an invitation from someone, you'll notice it on when you visit their page or their profile, it's going to show you their URL. And if this was not personalized, it would say linkedin.com/in/eric-cook-4725668, whatever, some random string of numbers. So as someone that works with banks and other business owners to help them optimize and improve their LinkedIn presence, that's one of the things that I look at, because now if I just say, hey, if you hop out to LinkedIn and go to Eric Cook MBA, you'll be able to find me. And that just gives more of a professional. Now, in a perfect world, I would have gotten Eric Cook, because that is the handle that I have for Twitter. That's the handle I have for Instagram. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Eric Cook on Facebook, so I'm eCook over on Facebook. So there's a little bit of disjointedness there. But if you can get the same handle on LinkedIn as you have on your other platforms, that's ideal, because then you can go ahead and say, hey, just find me as Eric Cook on any platform, or Eric Cook MBA on any platform, and it just makes it really easy. Plus, it ups the credibility or the professionalism of your social profile. So if you visit your LinkedIn profile, you hit the Me section, and you see a bunch of numbers, that means you need to change this and make it your personal URL, and it's easy to do that. So when you're on your Me section, over here on the right-hand side, you can see Edit Public Profile and URL. You're just going to tag that. It's going to open up a new tab for you. Now you have the ability, and there's a lot of other stuff that you can do in this area as well. But what we're focused on at this point is this URL up here. Just click on the little pencil. It'll say Eric-Cook-47 blah, 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 blah. You can just change that to whatever name you would like. If you can get first name, last name, that's awesome. One of the things that we'll oftentimes recommend is, when I started using LinkedIn, I might have well been at the bank. So that was Monarch Community Bank. Not to say that you ever intend to leave your job, and you certainly don't want to send the right or wrong impression to your employer. But usually this is something that you want to pick that you don't change on a regular basis. You'd like this to be something that can be you forever. So notice I don't have Eric Cook Monarch or Eric Cook Banker or Eric Cook WSI. It says Eric Cook MBA. I'm always going to be Eric Cook. I'm always going to have MBA. And my wife has already informed me, due to the fact that I've got my MBA and I went back to the Graduate School of Banking, which was another 3-year program, there's no way I'm going to ever go back and get my PhD. So it's going to stay at an MBA. That's it. That's as far as my educational career is going to go. So you can see that it's Eric Cook MBA. Once you change that, click Save. And then you'll notice that your URL now is something that you've picked. And if you connect with someone like me that takes a look at that just to see whether or not that might be an indicator of how well you use the system or how much you know about LinkedIn, that can help be one of the little elements that might differentiate you if you're going up against some other folks. That just signifies that you've now known how to go in and make some customization, whereas maybe your competition doesn't know how to do that. So hopefully that makes some good sense. One of the other things that I also, and I was a victim of this as well, when I joined LinkedIn, I joined it, and I have a separate email address that I use, which is just eric@ericcook.com. I'm kind of a geek, and I went out and I registered my own name as my own domain, did that for my wife, so she's got an Alicia Cook domain. And when I signed up for LinkedIn, I signed up as eric@ericcook.com. And over time, what I did is I started adding some other emails to my LinkedIn profile, but the Eric@Eric was the primary. So if somebody were ever to connect with me on LinkedIn and go to contact info, when they click on contact info, that's going to bring up my Eric at Powered by WSI. Now, or it is now, because I've changed that. But why I'm mentioning this is those of you that are listening that have LinkedIn, you may have signed up for LinkedIn using your own personal Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo account, whatever the case is. And you might have your business email address in there. But one of the things that oftentimes when I talk to folks, because if you and I connect on LinkedIn and I don't have you in my contacts, but we're now connected on LinkedIn and we decide, hey, we want to get together, let's have a conversation. What I would like to be able to do is to go directly to your profile, hit your contact info, get your business email, and send you an email. And almost 9 times out of 10, when I do that, I'm getting the individual's Gmail or Hotmail, which may or may not be an email address that they actively monitor, and it's certainly not one that they would expect a professional invitation to connect for a meeting or any sort of a calendar appointment. But the reason that most people keep their personal email address as the primary is they might feel that, well, if I ever, leave WSI, now because I've got WSI as my email address, if I leave WSI and I don't have access to that email anymore, I lose my LinkedIn and then I'm screwed because now I just lost all of my contacts, my connections are gone, and I don't have access to that. That is not the case. And so what you can do is if we go in, we're still under the me section here, so we're going to go to settings and privacy. You can have multiple email addresses, and you can see what I've done here is I've gone by default, you go to privacy, I've flipped over to account, and you can go to the email addresses area. And you can have multiple email addresses. Honestly, I'm not sure what the limit is, but the reason you would want to put multiple email addresses in is some people might know me because of my Gmail. Some people might have done a project through Digital RCP, which is our little side business where we do digital risk assessments and kind of policy reviews, my old egget.com email address from way, way long ago. So you can look me up on LinkedIn through any of these, and I can log into LinkedIn using any of these email addresses and my password. But what shows on your contact info when somebody connects with you is your primary. And so if for some reason I ever left WSI, or we do a lot of work with community bankers, and if they switch and go from one bank to another, and they're no longer at that bank, I think the fear is that, well, when I leave the bank, I lose my LinkedIn. Put your Gmail in as a secondary. When you add another email address, you'll get a confirmation email that will require you to find it in your inbox. You'll click on a link, verification will take place so that LinkedIn knows that it's really an email that you own. Then what you can do is you can go ahead and you can either take your business email and make that primary, or in most cases, what's happening is you are likely using your personal email and maybe your business email isn't even in there. Add your business and make it primary, and then it bumps your personal email address down so you can see I've got 4 others here that I could use to log in as, but primary is there. So again, from a professionalization perspective, that's one of the things that I think will also help make sure when somebody wants to connect with you, they can see that your business email address is there, and it's just going to make it a whole lot easier for folks to get connected. So that's one other little tip or tidbit that I guess today's show is going to be kind of an Eric rant on LinkedIn, things that I've found, my pet peeves, whatever you want to call it. The only other thing that I also would like to mention, and those of you that have been on Free Webinar Wednesdays before have heard me say this, so it's not going to be a surprise, but if you go in and you're in the account area, from a security perspective, from a privacy perspective, from just a verification, make sure that you are the only one that gets logged into your account. Please make sure that you put 2-step verification on, make sure that that is active. I was on site with clients earlier this week, and we were doing a walkthrough of just some LinkedIn ideas and talked about the personalized URL and a couple other things, and drew attention to the 2-step verification process. And that was not enabled. And you want to do this for a couple of reasons. I know it's human nature, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands because, one, you can't because this is a webinar. You could probably raise your hands. There's a hand function somewhere in there, but I'm not going to ask you to identify yourself. But a vast number of people use the same email address and password for multiple accounts. And what they think they're doing, maybe they have a password that they've set and they use their Gmail account and they've got a secure password that they use for Dropbox. So when I say use different passwords, oftentimes people will say, well, I've got a it's 12 characters, it's upper lower case, it's using special characters. This is a really good password, Eric. I don't know why I would need to use a different password for different platforms. Nobody's ever going to guess this password. And they might use that really complicated, sophisticated, complex password for Dropbox and Facebook and Gmail. But the problem is, if Dropbox gets compromised, which it has to the tune of several hundreds of thousands of email addresses, and someone gets access to the username and the password list, they now have your email address and that super duper secret, complex, multi-character, upper lowercase password. They didn't need to guess it. They just had to get into Dropbox, and now they have that combination. And what they're going to do, and by they, I mean the bad guy's computer program, because it's just going to automatically do this without their involvement, it's going to check every other website that it knows has a username and a password that likely could contain personal information. So that Gmail account with your super 12-digit complex password is now going to be tried at Facebook, at Gmail, at LinkedIn, at Twitter, at Instagram. You kind of get the idea there. And rather than making any changes or doing anything right out of the gate, because what's going to happen is Dropbox is going to connect you. It's going to say, hey, we recommend that you change your password because we were compromised. Please keep an eye on your account. And if you are like a lot of people, again, no judgment here, and I was the same way before I started using LastPass, you're going to say, well, now I've got one more long password. That's a pain in the butt. I don't want to have to do that. So you're going to sit, you're going to watch, you're going to keep an eye on your other accounts, and nothing fishy is going to go on. So you're going to think you're okay. And then after about a month or two, when the dust blows over and you totally forget about Dropbox getting compromised, the bad guy then goes into their database and says, oh, for Eric Cook, looks like we've got access to his LinkedIn and his Instagram and his Box account. So now we're going to go and we're going to get access to those accounts. We're going to log in, we're going to double check some things, and we're going to see what sort of information is in there. Even if they have my username and my password, which likely they won't because now I'm using LastPass and I've got unique passwords for all of my accounts. But even if they have your username and your password, two-step verification will trigger a notification to your phone with a 6-digit code or some sort of an authenticator that says, hey, LinkedIn detected a new login attempt. Please enter the following password in order to get access. And you may very well have gotten a new computer or cleared the cookies and cache, or might, be using your iPad and you haven't logged in there in a while. And it might be legitimate. You might very well know that, yep, that's me, not a problem. But if you're in the office and you're sitting at your desk and your phone goes off and you get a notification from LinkedIn that says, please enter the following 6-digit code to get access to LinkedIn, and you're not trying to log into LinkedIn, somebody knows your username and your password. And I like to use the analogy of LinkedIn or any other social network is your house, and you only want people in your house that you know. You have sensitive information. That's where your family lives. That's where your valuables are at. And if somebody without your authorization gets into your house, that's not a good thing. It's called a burglary. So what happens with most people is they shut the door, but they don't deadbolt it. They're shutting it with a screen door, which is very easy to compromise. But with two-step verification, you're actually slamming that big old oak door with a giant deadbolt, and you've got all sorts of privacy in place. And if somebody is cracked through that screen door, the deadbolt is keeping them out. And then you can go in and you can make a change and you can get that fixed. So I'm hoping that those of you that are on the webinar today, this is me preaching to the choir and you've already done that. But if not, I would strongly encourage you, and today's show is not going to go the full hour, so you're going to have a little bit of time before the top of the hour to hop back out to LinkedIn and to make sure that you get that updated. So again, as a refresher, you go to the Me section, you're going to go down to Settings and Privacy. That's going to dump you right in. You're going to go into the account area, which is where you've got access to your email addresses. Make sure your personal one is there as a backup, but make your business one the primary so people know how to get in touch with you. And then two-step verification, you're going to put that in, make sure that's in place. Now, if you don't have your cell phone registered, you're going to need to do that as well. It'll send you a code. You'll punch code in, so make sure that your cell phone's there. But that's also a very important thing. So please, please, please do that. And then what I also thought maybe would be of interest is just kind of going through a few of the other maybe newer things that are going on in the world of LinkedIn. We were with a client just a couple of weeks ago, and they're doing an event in Chicago. And one of the things that we worked with them on was actually creating an event that they could use to invite people to. And so if you go to your homepage here, you scroll down, you can see you've got events. You can click on the little plus, and then that gives you the ability to create a little mini event. Now, these are all done at the individual level, so it's not something that you would implement at the page. So if you've got a company page, if this is an event that might be sales related or community related, or maybe you're doing a career fair, you would want the appropriate individual within your organization to create the event. So a career fair, obviously your HR director would create the event. So you can put the event name. It does need a physical location. At this point, there's not like a virtual, so I couldn't do an event for Free Webinar Wednesdays and say, join me at freewebinarwednesdays.com or put the GoToWebinar registration link in there. You do have the ability to put some of those details in the venue. So if I needed to, I could put the office address for our WSI agency in the location, but just make sure that people know, hey, don't drive to Verona Road in Battle Creek and expect to participate in Free Webinar Wednesdays. That's just the location for where our office is. The details go into the venue. Then you've got the time to and from, time zone, description. If you wanted to use any sort of a ticketing service, like Eventbrite is probably one of the more popular ones. Somebody needed to register for an event, that's where you're collecting a payment. You could go ahead and you could direct them directly to the ticketing event website. And then you also have the option to make it public or private. If you make it private, you have to invite individuals to that event, and then they can accept it if they would like to. If it's a public event, you can broadcast it, get people to join. So it really just depends on the amount of visibility that you want. The other thing that you might notice up here is these get basically created just like mini pages. So you can use a little mini profile picture. You can put a cover photo across. So if it's an annual event that you've done and you've got an event of everybody that was there last year, you can go ahead and you can put a nice big photo here to kind of give your event a little bit of personality. It's a new feature that's been out for maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe even more than that. But anytime LinkedIn rolls out a new feature, they oftentimes will add a little extra organic visibility to those features. We saw that when kudos and shout outs basically became the thing. So if you've got an event that you want to gain some attention for, consider using the event functionality here, and you can go in and kind of distribute that. And if you're going to be going to a chamber, it doesn't even really have to be an event that you're organizing or you're putting on, but you can just use it to say, hey, we're going to be here, we're going to represent at this venue. You can put that information out there. The last thing that I wanted to chat a little bit about was at the page level. So we've gone ahead and actually done all of the various page elements as far as if you go to a page, you're going to see, if you've not finished all, I think there's like 7 or 8 different statuses, but there's a bunch of things that you can do that'll get you closer to having your page complete. It's almost like a status bar with a big check mark that's at the far right. You want to get all the way to that. We were recently with a client that hadn't gone in and actually added their hashtags. So what we did is we just kind of picked, and it was a bank, no surprise, but we figured out, well, what are some of the hashtags that would be related to the bank that they would want to maybe be found for. And so we added 3 hashtags, and that completed the process, and boom, now all of a sudden their little status bar has been completed and their profile is updated. So you can go in and think about what you would want folks to know about your organization. So you can see we've got 3 in here, 2 of which related primarily to the digital agency. And then, of course, here at WSI, our office, we work primarily with community banks. So we've got community banking as a hashtag. So this just gives you the opportunity when there are posts or other sorts of updates that go around, you're going to maybe have a higher chance of being seen by that. If you go into the admin tools area, this is where you now can actually send out invitations to your connections, where you can go through and you can, request people actually come back and connect and follow your page. You can sponsor an update with an advertisement, post jobs. A showcase page is something that's been around for a while, and if your organization is one that specializes in a particular niche, you could build a showcase page. So for example, one of the things we've been kicking around is, while we do digital marketing and online advertising and web development, we may at some point develop a special showcase page that talks about specifically the things that we do for community banks. Or as your organization, if there's a particular area of expertise, maybe you're a financial advisor, but you have a certain expertise in elder care, you could build that out as a showcase page and get a little bit more detailed. So you've got administrators, so a few other things here that you can kind of figure out. The other thing that's kind of interesting is in the content area. And I'll be honest, we don't use this a lot. We use a separate platform that we pay for to help us with content ideas. But if you're looking for something that's already included as part of the LinkedIn platform, when you go into content, you now can leverage the knowledge of LinkedIn to have LinkedIn come back and give you content related to things that you're interested in. So you can see these are some of the trending tags or categories over the last 15 days that LinkedIn has picked out based off of the profile and the hashtags that we have included. So, I can say, well, yeah, marketing and advertising, that's something that we would like. Social media, that's something that we do. Digital marketing, yep, not a problem. But maybe I would like to have something banking related. So I can type in and just start putting in, so maybe digital banking, that would be one. I can type in just regular banking. So now this helps curate the list. And then if there's an article here that as the page, I feel that I would like to share out with my audience, I can go ahead, quickly just click on the share, runs that directly to the page. You now have an update. And then if you're using any sort of a employee advocacy program or you've trained your staff, what you can do to, complete the circuit is when you post something to the page, you could then make sure that your employees know that, hey, our page just posted an article, might be of interest to our customers. And then your employees can go to the page and they can take that post, they can share it, they can comment on it. Those are different things that employees can do with the page, and that will help gain greater visibility and get you a little bit more eyeball attention from those that you're connected with and trying to influence. So analytics provide you with some good info, and then under the activity, this just simply gives you a rundown of, much like your own individual activity. But this is where you can go in and you can kind of monitor to see who's paying attention to your page and what sort of engagement opportunities might be available. So I'm just a quick check over on the questions to see if there's anyone that has a comment or a thought. Doesn't look like that is the case, so question area is clear. So brief show today, like I said, give you a little bit of time to make sure you go out and update your two-factor authentication and get that in place. Go check out the Vidyard Go Video tool. Kind of a cool, you may have noticed when you create a video one of the cool things is you now have the ability to see when folks are actually viewing it. And if they use Go Video and sign up for an account, you're going to be able to actually see when they're logged in and checking out your videos. So if like with Ben, I'll continue to use him as an example, but if I created a video and I wanted to show him something on LinkedIn, I could create a Go Video, shoot it to him, and then I could just keep an eye on this, and then once the little number shows that somebody has looked at it, I could pop back in and I could see, oh, it looks like Ben just watched my video. Maybe I should give him a quick call this afternoon, because now I know that he's paying attention to my content, he's looked at my information, and the time might be right because what we just talked about is top of mind for him. So hopefully those little tools, tips, and suggestions give you some ways to improve not just your LinkedIn, but your overall digital presence and relationship building effort. I do want to let you know, probably the next couple of weeks, we're going to be off. So next week I'm traveling and we'll be in Columbus, Ohio, doing some marketing forum work for the CBAO. Day before that, I'm going to be with the Indiana Bankers Association. I love doing those things, again, in a room full of marketing people, and we just talk all about everything that's going on in the world of bank marketing and what's their questions, and a lot of brainstorming. So that'll be fun. And then the week after that, Ellie from our office and myself are headed out to social media marketing world. So if you go to Social Media Examiner, and you may have heard me talk about social media marketing world, but it's an awesome event. It's in San Diego, California. I'm not sure if hotel rooms and all that jazz are still available, so you'd have to do some double checking. But if you can't travel and you are unable to come join us in sunny San Diego, one of the cool things that you can take advantage of is what's known as the virtual ticket. Now, if you've not heard about this conference, it's 2.5 days of just social media bliss. It's got all sorts of experts and presentations. There's more stuff. Go to the sessions and just look at the list. More than you could ever attend in person. In most of the time, there's like 6 sessions that you would want to go to at the same time, and you just simply can't. But if you can't even get there to be part of the networking and the after hours, you can buy the virtual ticket. And the virtual ticket gives you the ability, once the conference is over, to be able to get access to all of the materials, all of the recorded sessions, all of the notes, all of the slides. And so Ellie and I go out there in person and we buy the all access ticket, which gives us the ability to go to any of the events that we want. Plus we get all of the recordings afterwards. But the virtual ticket could be a way for you to at least get access to all the information that was shared, and a good way to have that content for your, learning pleasure throughout the year, to just help make sure you keep your social media game on par. So check out Social Media Examiner, go to the marketing world, and then dig into that virtual ticket. If you are going to be attending, by all means, let me know. There's going to be a contingent of WSI folks from around the world, really, attending the event. So we'll have a good contingent of WSI consultants there. So if you are going to be attending, be sure to look me up. Would love to say hi. It's always fun when I get to meet somebody that is a follower and a participant in the free webinar Wednesday sessions in person, because that doesn't normally happen very often. So maybe we'll see you in sunny San Diego. But once that event is over, we will be resuming our live shows here at Free Webinar Wednesdays. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. Going to take a couple weeks off, and don't fret. We will be back, but we'll be busy attending conferences and packing our brains just chock full of even more great information to share with you all. So with that, we will conclude today's show. I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. We'll get the recording up here at freewebinarwednesdays.com very shortly. Until then, we'll see you online, and take care. Bye-bye.